So it was just like 10 seconds ago. Organic, honest. There's two people talking. And Niagara College Principles of Marketing, 1301, great students, great programs. But I want to create this positioning for this interview because to me, this one's the most important to the students, especially in marketing, is that a video presence. It's being there, it's being out there. And I always want to tell the story of how I met our guest, Nick Mirka from MRP Pictures. And it wasn't really how we met. It's how your brand, Nick, always kept showing up for me. I'd be like, who did that video? And who did that for you? And that's really, and you and I have worked with Ted Bolt from Bolt Realty, and his stuff is always like sharp and funny and engaging and entertaining. And I was always like, who did that? And everywhere I went, people would say, yeah, you got to call Nick at MRP. And I'm like, okay. And then finally last year, we had a chance to really work together. And you coached the poop out of me. And I loved it because to me, that's what I want, is someone that just stretch this and that. And I speak professionally for 20 years, and you drew insights to me I never knew. So I wanted you hear this term, to have an honest dialogue, not only for the Niagara College students, but even just business people as a whole who might want to look at this. But why don't we do some introductions? Nick Mirka, the incomparable Nick Mirka, the mustache. We did the curling the mustache before we began. I just thought it was awesome. You just look great. Who are you, and what do you do?
Such a big question this day and age. From a professional standpoint, I guess you could say I'm a creator. I run a video production company with my best friends down in Niagara. We create everything from quirky commercials, like you mentioned, or social media ads, to documentaries and web series.
The Magar team, the Magar.
Totally. You know what? If we can, what's beautiful about my job is every client is different, which is great. We're always telling different stories, but our approach to videos is always a little different. So I never get bored. It's purely selfish. But yeah, so that's what I do for a living. I got into this because I'm an actor as well. I've acted all throughout elementary school, high school, college, all that stuff. Went to film school to hopefully kind of bring something in the acting front, and I inadvertently fell in love with directing, producing, script writing, all that stuff. And I met my best friend there, who is Mark Rewarda, and he is the other partner in MRP Studios. So he's this amazing cinematographer, editor, and just all around amazing human. He's my anchor for integrity. So it's good to have one of those guys who keeps you honest, right?
Keeps you in line.
Yeah, for sure. We at our company, we say, if it isn't for me, nothing would ever get started. And if it's not for Mark, nothing would ever get finished. And that's just it. That's how we operate.
Oh my God, that's so cool. And it's funny because I want you to rest assured. So in this marketing class that we have, it's marketing students. I told you, from around the globe. We've got about 80 students all over the place. It's 4 o'clock here in Niagara. It's midnight in India. And these students are on there. But what they're getting used to is, I told them most of their assignments will be over video. And they're very creative. Like, they love it. They're not afraid. And this generation is not afraid. But for you, Nick, what is the importance of, let's just say, a video presence, not only for individual branding, but business branding as well? Like, what's the importance of it? It's 2022.
Yeah,
it's obvious to you and me, but walk through that, why it's so important today.
Oh man, so video was important pre-pandemic, and because people don't like reading. It's true. And so even if you have beautiful photos and like you see this wall of text, some people read that stuff, and that's really great for your branding. There's something about video, and especially short form video these days, that is so important. But then the pandemic comes around, and it kind of offered a different way of communication. especially even like meetings like this would normally be done in person. And now we've grown so used to Zoom and also like iPhone videos. That also being said, there's the rise of just camera presence in your phone that allows people to take high quality videos. Yeah, just there. Like there's almost no excuse, right? So we're in this crazy time where video is just all over. We're on social media. You probably watch thousands of videos a day and not even know it.
Yep.
And so this gives way to build connection and build presence. And so for like, whether or not it's a personal brand or a brand, you have this avenue of communicating to people. And so video, I think, is so important. Anytime I get lazy with our own social, which is all the time,
Yeah.
I'll spend some time. It's true. It's like I do video all the time for everybody else. It's kind of like the landscaper's home is the last one landscaped. That, you know, so for us, whenever I do hop on, it's amazing how many conversations get started, whether that's, hey, I saw that video. Hey, I have a question for you. Hey, I want business. Just constant brand presence is important. And so this day and age, I think anyone, individual or business, should be doing it. And they just have to figure out the right way that works for them.
You know, I think you'd be proud, because last week I'm speaking in front of 200 mortgage brokers, and I gave them the Go Train test. And they looked at me and said, your website needs to pass the Go Train test, which is a 7-second attention span. And I understand that's as short as 3 seconds on a website, but it's tap, 3 swipes. If they don't see video, they're off your site. And that's a 7-second window. So I had a colleague reach out to me, and I've never been busier. And don't get me wrong, the pandemic affected all of our businesses, as you know, but right now I've never been busier. And somebody said, what do you attribute that to? And I go right back to the fact that my website has 9 testimonial videos and me walking through a back alley just talking. And I think it was all of that video that I did back in, you know, like 2015, but we've been doing it even before then, that has now resulted in that branding now that's now paying off. And I think people see video as, it's something we're going to plan, we might get around to it. I think today there's probably nothing more important.
I definitely agree. I mean, like, I'm in the video world, so I would agree. And the craziest thing, I think there's no excuse to not have video, and it's just deciding what kind of video works for your brand. It's funny being in this, on this side of it. We do high-end professional style videos now. And so when I'm talking to a new client or an old client, like I actually, Pat Burke from the B team at Sally McGuire Realty, I love him. So we've done videos for them for years. And we did their initial, just who we are, B team. It was fun, quirky. It's about Jim and Pat, who are an awesome team, kind of like 2 different guys from 2 different worlds, but kind of the same, in the same. And we let them tell their story on the golf course, in the office, doing funny things. And it really encapsulated who they are. Yeah. And that was great. We did another social media campaign for them where it was Terrible Excellent, it was called. Pat came up with this idea. It's like terrible boxer, excellent realtor. Terrible dentist. Terrible dentist, yes. Yeah, exactly. So these are these funny videos. And so they're paying for higher quality video stuff. But then he starts getting into stats videos. Yeah. And if you know Pat, he is a really educated realtor who is paying attention to the Niagara market, the Toronto market, everything. So he analyzes numbers. And so you'll have a lot of realtors, and I used to be in real estate, so I know this world very well. And some realtors just kind of take whatever people say and are like, okay, well, it was higher up than January. And Pat goes, well, that doesn't mean anything. The world was completely different. So now let's analyze what shifted, what happened, what were the mandates, what were all, And so then he does these videos, but they're short-lived. And so he was wanting us to he's like, hey, can I come in and do this? And how do we keep it affordable? And my first thing was, don't go through us, do it yourself. You should be doing these videos as much as you can, have a good microphone.
Right.
You don't need a great camera. Audio has to be good. So please don't do it in like a loud, noisy stuff. And then just be you, because really there's the rule of three. You can have excellent quality, you can have excellent personality, and you can have excellent content. You only need two. So if I'm really good and I know my stuff and I'm an expert and you're going to listen to me, and if what I'm giving to you is really good, my quality of video does not need to stand out, because in this day and age, I'm coming to you for real estate advice. That's what I want.
The interesting thing though, Nick, is I see Pat at least 2, if not 3 times a week.
Oh, really?
Like I see, no, like in my feed.
Oh, gotcha. I thought in person. Yeah.
And to me, that's branding. That is like, and you're interested to watch it, because you said it earlier. We all have attention spans of squirrels on crack, right? So it's that video that catches that. That's so important.
Totally. And if you watch it for a bit and you have any interest, he hooks you, because he knows what he's talking about. You trust him. I mean, that's why he's great at what he does. But he doesn't need any, like, you know, special lighting and all that stuff. I mean, he's always trying to up it. I think he just got a new camera, and that's awesome too. But for him, what's more important is getting that content out, getting it out quick, and you know, just getting it out. So that's one aspect where video doesn't need to be all special. But when you talk about, like, say, the videos on your website that are testimonials, that needs to be your website video. Like, unless you are super low budget starting out, you don't need a high-end video, but you should have something. But if you're an established brand, if you're charging clients a half decent, amount, you should have a video that matches the caliber of product or service that you're providing. That's my opinion.
And my video has paid for itself 10 times over. Those testimonial videos have paid themselves 100 times over.
Well, and those videos are really thoughtful too, just to go into there. But like your videos, I've seen, you have your clients speaking on your behalf of how great you are. So first of all, if you were to be like, oh, I'm Neil Thornton and I'm fantastic, it's like, people are like, like, I don't feel good about this. Now, if Ted tells you how good you are, and then all we hear from you is how passionate you are and how much you care, and the attributes that will make you great. And also we see that you care, and then you see someone who says he really cared and he helped me through and he helped me establish and break barriers and all this stuff. That's the perfect way of designing that style of video. That's why it still works, 6 years later, 7 years later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Nick, like, what stops people from doing it? Because obviously, we've got marketing students here that they see the value of this. So at some point in time, they're going to go out to the market and they're going to position for their clients from a marketing strategy standpoint that you should have a video element. What's some of the objections? Like, what's stopping people? Because I can't imagine why you wouldn't do it, but what do you hear out there?
So, I mean, there's first for evergreen videos, which we call them, like your website video or a high-end commercial or social media thing, it's cost. That is an investment. And you don't know, sometimes it's hard, the metrics, unless you really understand the metrics, it's hard to know if it delivers. The other thing too, just like how you mentioned, your videos, like, you probably paid a hefty amount like 6 years ago, but they're still working for you.
Very much.
Right? And so if you're smart with where you put your videos, which a lot of times people are like, well, I put it on Facebook and I didn't get a lot of activity. But as you all know, if you aren't active on your Facebook's like, only 5% of your audience is going to see this anyway. So that's it.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of repost and be active. Social media. Basically, if you're active, people see it. And if you're inactive, people don't see it.
Well, we're in an attention span economy, and we're in an Instagram economy.
Oh yeah.
To be honest.
So that's one objection that people are worried. I also think that people actually have this fear of making a decision for who their brand is going to be because they are unclear, if that makes sense. So My job a lot of the times is hearing a product or service or business or anything and asking the really, really stupid questions. I love coming in like the idiot and really asking dumb questions, because I want to be able to communicate to their audience, which a lot of people are experts in their field, and then they're like kind of fearful of saying, hey, we want to be funny, or we want, like, the amount of times like people are so worried of coming across as unprofessional because they're giving personality, let alone, like, comedy's one thing, but personality is another thing. I mean, it's very hard to remember the best vanilla ice cream you had. But if you say, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? And you're like, oh man, I had this like Kawartha chocolate peanut butter thing up in Muskoka, like your mind explodes. So I'm like, why are you guys aspiring to be vanilla when you have an opportunity to break the noise? And then another thing too is people lack the creativity to see beyond what any sort of like what their competitors are doing. So they're like, well, we have to do something similar.
Yeah, and then that's a very Me Too, and it's just dry, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I've got 80 students watching this, and they're interested in this field. Like, Nick, what advice would you give them, being the age that they're in and where they are in their careers? What would you say?
Like, to make some noise, or just in general?
Just in general, like just for their careers.
Okay, well, so if you're coming out of a school in your positioning, I mean, we've had co-op students and people fresh out of college, and the ones that have always impressed me in terms of employee standpoint are the people who are really passionate to do something awesome. And I know that sounds weird, but there are a lot of people who come out and they're almost over polite. They don't want to overstep. They want to be told what to do. And I just get hungry to make some noise, make a ruckus, and just do something that you're proud of, and disrupt whatever industry you get involved in. And that doesn't have to be like bold and in your face. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm funny and all this stuff. It just means you want to do something that hasn't been added to whatever business you're starting or joining. Yeah. And I think that's so important. I always like, I mean, I believe that it's important for me to, if I'm coming into a project, I want to bring something that only I can bring. And I also want to give more than is expected of me. And if I just take those two attitudes to any project, I'm hopefully going to better it in some capacity. And that's my hope.
Yeah, it reminds me, I've got a photographer coming on in a couple of weeks, Kevin Unger. This guy's like 5'8". He makes you and I look shy. Like, this guy is like, and he's a photographer, and he's on video, he's talking, he's passionate. He's got this little studio down in St. Catharines. He did our photos one year, and he was just out of the box. Yeah. I guess he wasn't afraid, and he was a graduate of Niagara College.
So I've known Kevin Unger since he was in high school. And so as soon as you say him, I know you cannot think of Kevin Unger and not smile, because he is the type of, he is this like wrecking ball of positivity. And at first you're like, are you fake? Like, is this like just fake optimism and positivity? And you're like, I've known him for like probably over a decade now. And I'm like, no, that is Kevin. He is just always on fire. And the thing, even when he was in high school, he was hungry. I'm hungry to be a good photographer. I'm hungry to actually do something and disrupt. And that's exactly what I mentioned. He'd be like a star candidate. This is a guy who you can't contain, because he's so passionate to bring his all and his best. He's so passionate to learn. Yeah. He's so passionate to try. And the other thing too is he runs a very successful business in photography, headshots and whatnot, weddings and whatnot. But Kevin has tried a lot of things that I like. Like, I know he tried to build an online course one time, and he kind of commented how he thought it was a failure because it didn't really go. But that's okay. The thing is you don't gain success in anything without putting yourself out there. And that, I mean, that's one great thing for your students to know, is that you gotta put yourself out there. Do things outside your job description if you think it's going to benefit whatever you're a part of. And Kevin's that kind of guy. Oh man, your students are going to absolutely love hearing from him. He's a great human.
And so are you too, Nick. Like it's 5:30 on a Monday night, but you know, you're taking time out of your day. Kids are in the background having a ball. It's raw. Like that's what we talked about, just a raw. But the thing is what you shared just now is gold. And you know, I'm glad you told your story, because I think that's really worthwhile. How do people get a hold of you? Like how can the students search you and look for any arresting records anywhere?
Oh, you can try. Yeah, no. So, I mean, you could always browse our website, mrp.tv. That, if you look, it's a splash of color, lots of personality, and a lot of our video work is there. That's where you can browse. You can also follow us on social. Obviously, we're on Instagram and Facebook.
LinkedIn's right here, up on here.
Sporadically. I also got a personal Instagram too, if anybody wants to reach out. Nick Mirka is the name. Or just email me, nick@mrp.tv. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to meet new people and also help in any capacity I can.
All right, Nick, look forward to you doing some stuff for me too soon, okay?
Well, thanks. I look forward to it as well.
I love you, man. Thanks, dude. Big love, big love.